Hello, everyone. We got him back. I usually do a long introduction of coming up with a nickname and stuff, but I think I'm going to keep it simple again and just say, to quote American Idol's Kelly Clarkson, this pod would suck without him. Welcome, welcome, Calvin.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's good to be back on with you.
Well, I said we always create the podcast king. You sometimes get to see her hoop stats, CBS, go down to Florida. You're going to catch him at Unrivaled in the off season. So let's start there. How was your off season? It went pretty quick. October to now, we're kind of getting, what, a week away from training camps opening up?
Yeah. I mean, I know you and I both follow the college game pretty closely, so WNBA off season for me is just college basketball season, really, with the
Fair.
exception of right now in April,
Hmm.
which has always been the chillest month for women's basketball. But yeah, I did. In addition to college, like you said, make it down to Unrivaled, as did you. I
Hmm.
know, which was really fun. Got to see some of these players we're about to talk about, and so that was really cool. Saw your Gophers win the WBIT, so shout out to them.
Second most
And
important championship, according to Tori McKinney.
yeah, there you go. So a good off season for the WNBA and season for all the other basketball we follow.
We're not going to hold it against Kelvin that the first time, well, and myself, that we were at an Unrivaled game, it was the first time Fee's team lost. Not going to hold that against them. They only lost twice, once in the playoffs and that one game we went
Yep.
to, but they came back the next night. They came back the next night, so. And then that's my next question for you. Do you feel Unrivaled maybe kind of ignited more fans excited for the WNBA? Just kind of maybe kept the momentum going, or kind of, or did it damper a little bit? Kind of, where do you think? Do you think it helped it, hurt it, kept it the same?
I think it helps. I think obviously these players are playing for the most part over the offseason, whether it's Unrivaled or not. A lot of them have been playing overseas, but I think a lot of fans in this country don't necessarily tune in as much or follow as much overseas, especially if it's some of the leagues that are going on at like 4 a.m. when you talk
Right.
about like the WNBL, maybe some of like the bigger ones in Europe,
Correct.
following and watching a little bit more, but it's not like they're on national TV here or whatever. You got to go to YouTube and things like that. So I think a lot of fans don't really see these players hooping as much in the offseason. But Unrivaled, it's on TNT. It's right there. It's in Miami. Like I think the fans, a lot more fans. Obviously, some do follow overseas. A lot more, I think, in this country, were tuning into Unrivaled and staying plugged in and connected with their favorite players throughout that whole time. And I also think you saw some kind of like player development there. I think you see like Angel
Mm-hmm.
Reese has continued to get better as she has her whole career. You already see in Unrivaled she was looking better than she was as a rookie, which is
Mm-hmm.
a high bar. And so when you look at like Fee, we're gonna talk about her. Obviously, amazing season in Unrivaled. Like so, I think it gives fans a little bit of a taste of like where these players are at and what they've been working on and how they've been improving over the offseason and what version of them we are going to see in 2025 that may be different or better than what we saw from them in 2024.
And I feel like, just to piggyback off that, being in the arena, I cannot tell. Not like we're doing like an advertisement for Unrivaled. I cannot tell you, the in the arena experience was amazing. Like WNBA, it's a little more heated rivalries. You don't really like the other teams. You don't like. It was fun to like cheer for Skylar Diggins. It was fun to watch Chelsea Gray kind of go off, see Stewie. Like, it was fun to see. Like, there was never a moment in that arena where you're not having fun. They're not having the crowd engaged. There's not a bad seat in there. And if the team aren't playing, all of a sudden you have Jackie Young just walking off to your right. Like, it just felt very fan forward, and it felt like it was like made with the fans in mind. It was still fun to see them. I said Fee obviously dominated. That's always fun. But I don't know. It's even when she lost, like, it's just, I have a new respect for Ray Burrell for no other reason that she was just pure confidence at Unrivaled. And you don't always get to see like them maybe kind of goof around or maybe take more chances because they're going to get benched if they would take some of the chances they did in Unrivaled. So if next year, if people can get down to Unrivaled, make sure you get down to Unrivaled. It was amazing.
Oh, no question. Talking to Brendan Glasheen when I was down there, and he said it's like a nightclub
Hmm.
for basketball. Basically, is like the feel it had. It really is a fan experience. It's what I mean. Whether you're there or on TV, it's a big time entertainment product, and even like the style of play, the 3-on-3 full court. You have the 1-on-1 tournament in the middle. Like everything is this is all stuff that fans want to see, and it's fun. It's entertaining. So it was really cool to see year one. Looking forward to year two. But
Yeah.
now we got the WNBA.
So let's kick it off there. So what are some of the storylines coming into this season? We're coming off a massive year of outstanding playoffs. The Caitlin Clark freshman or rookie year, not freshman, college brain. What are you looking at some of the biggest storylines coming into this season?
Yeah, I think well, Caitlin Clark obviously is one always because her rookie year the storyline was like, is she going to be ready? Is she going to get a rude welcome to the league? Is she going to take a little while to kind of get to that level everyone knows she can? And the answer was yes, but not that long, right? She didn't have a very good first month. The Fever started out slow. They had a rough schedule, obviously, and Caitlin Clark was adjusting to the pro level, and then she flipped the switch and was really good down the stretch. And now the storyline is now she's at that level from the start of the year. She's going into year two, like just one of the best players in the league, and they have a lot of talent around her. The Fever, they bring in a new coach and Steph White, who did a great job with the Sun, a very defensive-minded coach, and bringing Natasha Howard, bringing DeWanna Bonner. So that whole team is a big storyline. I think also just parity in general at the top is a storyline because I know you love your Lynx. Like they were devastatingly close to a title last year, and they basically are running it back with a squad that obviously could win it all. You have the Liberty, lost Benajelini Hamilton, but they bring in Natasha Cloud, so the defending champs are right there again in that top tier. You have the Aces. They make that trade with Kelsey Plum for Jewel Lloyd, essentially, and so they're going to be in the mix again. And none of these teams to me is like a clear runaway favorite. And I mean, you could even maybe throw a few other teams in that mix too, like the Fever and then Phoenix. We can talk about their lack of depth, but they do have an incredible big three if they stay healthy. The Storm should be good again, even losing Jewel Lloyd. So there's a lot of talent kind of spread out at the top of the league, and it's going to be very unpredictable, I think, is the biggest storyline.
We have 13 teams now. We have Golden State, who feels like a We Are the World type team. Like they have international flavor up and down that roster. So I don't know if we really know what to expect from them because it's kind of like you've had a lot of pieces, and it's like who's going to be here, who's going to be on the roster. You add Tiffany Hayes, you had Kate Martin. So it's like I'm curious to see what they look like. I'm guessing they're kind of all in to see if, like, hey, are we going to be in the Juju Watkins draft, next year's AZ Fudd, Lauren Betts draft type situation. So it'll be fun just to see a 13th team. Then we add two more with Portland and Toronto. Next year's CBA thing, when 88% of the league is free agent. So how do we do a dispersal draft when each team has like 3 players on their roster to begin with? So yeah, it's exciting. But let's start with a little hometown flair, but not the big hometown flair. How about it's the Paige Beckers era? We're entering. She's finally in the league. Hometown girl, Hopkins, Minnesota. Welcome. But
Paige Beckers, Minnesota, on May 16th.
Yeah, she's coming here. We're naming it after her, as we should. Like she owned the place. Let's be honest. So my question for you is twofold. How do you think she'll do? Do you feel she'll have the same pressure or expectations on her that Caitlin Clark had last year? Two-part question coming at you.
No, to the second part, because I don't think anyone ever essentially will. Like that was just a perfect storm of an astronomical level of hype and expectations. Obviously, with Paige, it will be really high, but how I think she'll do, I mean, she's pretty clearly the front runner for Rookie of the Year, and so I definitely think she is going to be the best rookie. I think a lot of people are talking about like how's it going to work with Arike being kind of a ball dominant guard, but I think Arike, I mean, obviously part of this was the style they played and the minutes that she played, but she was top 10 in assists per game in the league last year. You see her tweets; she's very excited to play with Paige. I think she's going to want to get her involved. She might have to change the way she plays a little bit, and it remains to be seen if she can do that. But I think she wants to. I think she's very much looking forward to sharing the backcourt with Paige, and Paige certainly is capable of that, of of
Oh
blending in
yeah.
and filling whatever role you need. So I think it'll work out pretty well to in terms of that backcourt. And they brought in some other pieces now, Dejanay Carrington and Alyssa Smith.
Oh yeah.
So it's going to be an improvement from last year for sure, but on the team level, in terms of Paige, I mean, I think she can come in and average like 15 a game right away. Play some decent defense. That part always takes a little while for rookies to get up to speed more than the offensive end, but definitely be a playmaker when they need her to. And she's the best rookie far and away, and I think she will be that this season.
I will say this: at the draft, they talked about they had that stat of Enrique had the most unassisted baskets. I don't necessarily feel that's some. I won't say it's 100% anything. I don't think she's innocent of guilt in that herself. Of I'm gonna jack a lot of shots up. I'm gonna take a lot of stuff. I'm ball dominant. That's fine. She's gonna have to understand that. Hey, you're excited. Paige is here. Paige is a willing passer. Paige, Gino ripped on her for 5 years that she wasn't, aggressive enough. She wasn't looking for her shot enough. She'll pass the ball, but she also has the. You want that guard that can score, pass, and be a threat to do both. That is Paige. Enrique has to trust that she can do that, and allow. And I feel like that's where I see. That's my only thing with Paige is because I agree with you. She's the best rookie. I'll say it now. My rookie of the year is going to be Paige, just because she's in a position where she's set up to have success. I just need to see the team aspect. Dejanay is going to let her do her thing. She's going to play defense. I don't think they're an issue. It's just Enrique's going to have to understand hey, I'm going to have to let her create for me, and I'll have open shots, and I can play off her, and that will help her game take another level, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's going to be where it's going to be interesting to see how Chris handles all that. The new coach, obviously bringing him in this year. He was with Kurt at Connecticut, and then he was at USC as an assistant, and now in his first year with the Dallas Wings. So I think that's going to be a big test for him in his first year as a head coach, is kind of getting Enrique to understand that. And I mean, obviously she understands it on an intellectual level, but on like a basketball court level, right?
In the heat of the
Being
moment
able
level.
yeah, exactly. Like when your instincts kick in, being able to still kind of have that switch where those two can work well together, and meshing and integrating them. I think that's gonna be a lot on Chris. So I'm very interested to see how he does with that.
And I'm all for if history repeats itself with a player who's from the state of Minnesota coming home after 6 seasons. We can keep that going. Whalen and Banham both came home after 6 seasons. Paige can come home after 6. I'm good with that.
There you go.
I'm good with that. But my next, and so are we marking down Paige your pick for Rookie of the Year?
Paige is my pick for Rookie of the Year, although I do have a sleeper if it's not Paige.
Let's talk about that sleeper, because it's a team I might be curious in talking about, or it might be connected to a team we're going to be talking about. Who's your sleeper pick?
Well, I got to start out with last year. When you look at last year's Rookie of the Year race, obviously everyone came into the year thinking it's Caitlin Clark far and away. Mm-hmm. It was Caitlin Clark, of course. She did end up running away with it. But there was a point in the middle of the season when even maybe at the Olympic break, when it looked extremely close with Caitlin and Angel Reese, who was the 7th pick in the draft. And Angel had every opportunity to on the sky to go dominate, and with her motor and her rebounding ability, insert herself into that conversation basically as the number 2 rookie right away. And I think there's a lot of similarity. I know everyone draws this comparison for a lot of reasons, rightfully so. It's the very easy, slam dunk comparison to make, because they played together at LSU. They're both high motor forwards who dominate on the glass. They both went number 7, but Anissa Morrow is going to step into a role in the Connecticut Sun right away where she's going to get more minutes, and maybe she won't be the second best rookie, but she's going to have more of an opportunity on the floor, more minutes and more volume than, say, like a Malunga on Seattle, who was drafted 2nd but is going to be behind Ezzy and behind NECA. Some of the players maybe on the Mystics as well. So I just think from a statistical standpoint, and when you look at Morrow and the same kind of motor that Angel Reese has, and that desire to always be getting better, I think if there is an Angel Reese this year, which there probably isn't because Angel Reese is one of one, but if there was, it would be Anissa Morrow, her former teammate, coming out of the number 7 pick in the draft and doing the same thing and potentially making it close. I don't think she's going to win the Rookie of the Year over Paige, but God forbid if Paige were to get injured or something, knock on wood, hopefully she doesn't. I think Anissa Morrow could be a sleeper for that.
The one thing the rookies this year don't have, like you said, last year had an Olympic break. Caitlin really took that break and and then came flying out. They don't have that this year. So if you kind of have that stumble, you're kind of on the fly, having to maybe make up ground. Not saying Paige can't do that. And I said a lot of times, Rookie of the Year, maybe not as much as other awards, but typically team success is going to slide one or the other. Head-to-head matchups can all get taken into that. But yeah, I said that's the one. That's a good one. I thought you were going with Seattle. I really did think you were heading with Seattle there. So I thought you were going number 2 because the dunking machine. But I'm like you said, Ezzy. We all know how I feel about NECA from these past histories, but Ezzy's great.
So, I do think Malunga is going to end up being a star, but just in terms of, I mean, she's a little younger and again, coming off the bench. I think in terms of her first year, I don't think she's going to be the second best player in this class in 2025. She might be in 2027 or 2028, but I think Morrow has more of an opportunity right away.
So I'm going to ask about 2 teams now. We're going to go Seattle and Vegas. We're going to start with Seattle. How big of a loss does it drop or keep them of Jewell Loyd? How big is that loss going to be for them this year, in your opinion?
It's going to be a little bit of a loss, but honestly, the vibes were a little bit weird with them and Jewell last year, and honestly, even into Unrivaled, isn't really looking like prime Jewell anymore, and we'll see if she gets rejuvenated on the Aces, but I don't think it's as big of a loss as maybe it would seem like on paper, which is no shade to Jewell, but you also have, like, you bring in a lot of talent and depth there too. I mean, you have Gabby Williams now for the whole season. Again, Malongo, we talked about her. You got Alicia Clark back. I think the Storm do have the depth this year to withstand that loss. And of course, when you still have Ezzy and NECA and Skylar, like, you still have all-stars in that roster as well. So I think the Storm are still going to be a very formidable team.
Would you put them top 6 right now or on the fringe of top 6? Okay, top 6.
I would. Probably fringe, but top 6 still. Yeah, like 5 or 6.
Now let's go to the Aces. So my question is, you get Kitley back, or for first year, kind of a rookie right there, rookie year. Replaced Kelsey Plum with Jewell Loyd. My question is that an improvement? Is that a lateral move? Because to me, it's lateral. They both have great moments, but they both have moments of being inconsistent. So I don't know if that shores up a lot of what, I will say that move to me doesn't necessarily shore up what the Vegas Aces were hoping to accomplish. A healthy Chelsea Gray and who we thought Unrivaled, that shores up a little bit more to me than what we thought, than that trade does. What's your thoughts on that?
100%. I was going to say the same thing. I think it's fairly lateral when you look at the Plum and Jewell move, but Chelsea Gray being fully healthy for a full year, and if Unrivaled is an indication she is, that's going to be big. Hopefully Jackie is fully healthy because she, had been dealing with some of that lingering stuff since the Olympics, really, and missed some time in Unrivaled. They'll need her fully healthy. The worry for me about the Aces is that the Aces have, throughout their whole championship run in the last few years of being a contender, the one thing is that they've had the star power but not the depth, right? But they have always had at least one good bench player. They've had like 4 of the top 6. I don't have the number in front of me. I think it's 4 of the last six player of the year. I mean, you can even go back to when Kelsey Plum was coming off the bench, and you had like Tip Hayes, Alicia Clark. Like, there's always someone. All those players are gone. You look at all those big bench contributors that they've had, as their 6th player.
Even Sydney Colson gone.
Even Sydney Colson is gone. The face of the league is gone. And Cheyenne Parker Tyus, who they brought in to potentially be that or start, and maybe Kia Stokes is that. Now Cheyenne is pregnant, so congratulations to her. But now, if you're the Aces, that's just a hit to your depth as well. I think the Aces' depth is even more shaky than it has been the last few years, and that's tough. That's going to be tough if you have any sort of health concerns whatsoever. So it's not the worst depth in the league. I think there's one team that we can talk about who's maybe is going to struggle with that even more, but it's certainly going to be an issue again for the Aces in 2025.
Right now, top 4 or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Top four.
Fringe or solid top four?
If they stay healthy, solid. Otherwise, fringe. I think I would have them third as long as they're healthy.
So we're going to go out west for a team and then back out east for a team, and then we're going to come to the team after that. We'll go out west. Let's talk about Phoenix. As someone who has started watching the league in 2004, it's weird not seeing Diana Taurasi in the league, in Phoenix. Even the year she sat out is like she was still on Phoenix. She was still around. It was still a name you heard. She's now retired. Happy retirement to her. What is the thoughts on Phoenix? Because you lose Griner, you lose Taurasi, the two pillars you basically had. You bring in, Thatu. You bring in a AT. I thought Bonner was coming with, but what do I know? So those, and then you add that to Ka. You have, Kalani Brown, I think, could probably be their starting post. Decent. There's a lot more questions here, but not necessarily like you said, not a question of talent. It's just how does this all fit together?
Well, this is the team that I think their depth is going to be even more of a question than the Aces because after those big three that you said, it drops off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
In Satu, obviously, star. Ka, star. AT, star. And after that, I mean, Kalani Brown, decent piece. You bring in, Sammy Whitcomb, good veteran for a long time in this league. You brought in, Sev from Dallas. So you got some pieces, but Satu hasn't been exactly a picture of health for her whole career. I hope she is this year because the one season that she was top 5 in MVP voting. And that's her potential if she stays healthy all year and hits her ceiling. But that hasn't been the case a lot of years for her. And you're, I mean, if you miss any time from any one of those big three, if you're Phoenix, you might be in trouble, I think. And I mean, point guard questions, obviously, I think you're looking at basically AT as being the point guard, which she obviously can do. But this team has a lot of question marks to me. Obviously, it's going to look a lot different. And I do think Nate Tibbetts is a good coach. So he'll be able to figure something out, especially offensively. But it is going to be, I think, really tough sledding, especially if anyone misses any time.
Yeah, the shooting to me is what, it just stood out because Satu can hit him, Ka can hit him, but I wouldn't say they're knockdown. It's kind of, they're up and down. They can get hot. They can get cold. AT's not shooting outside the paint, so it's...
Right, and this is a system under Nate where you need shooters.
So I'm like, it's curious. I still have them in the playoffs just because that collective amount of talent I think is going to get them there. I don't know if I would ever be ready to say contender, but I don't think they're never going to be a pushover with AT as your team, like you said. But you mentioned, health and stuff. We also forgot to mention there's 44 games this year, and we said not a break. There's not a break coming up except for the All-Star break, which tends to be in 5 days for them if you're not an All-Star.
Makes it even harder.
So yeah, it's now let's go out east. I'll call them champions because they technically have the title. We won't discuss how they got it. New York Liberty. Super team got their title. But like you said, Benijah Laney, we don't know if she'll be back this year. It's that 5 to 6 month window. She could be out for the whole year. Vandersloot goes back to Chicago. And you lose Kayla Thornton going to Golden State. I feel like you lost 3 big pieces. Now you bring Natasha Cloud in. But I'm like, those are 3 bigger pieces to me that were underrated, especially Benijah and Kayla. They were defensive stalwarts for them that could get the stops, that you could maybe take Jonquel and Stewie off the ATs, the Fees, the Satus, and kind of maybe put them on them. Do you think that's going to have a bigger effect than maybe people realize, or is this just Natasha's coming in and they're going to kind of it'll look different but still be as effective?
I think it'll have a little bit of an effect. It would have a big effect if you didn't bring in Natasha and if you didn't sign Leo Fibish last year.
Correct.
But you got both of those, and you could argue that they should have went out and got Natasha Cloud a year ago, but they did it now. And when you look at that backcourt and what they've needed and what they've been missing, that's it. That defensive dog, that veteran like Natasha Cloud, and Natasha Cloud in the playoffs is phenomenal, as we know. Saw what she did with the Mercury. So I think that's going to ease that loss quite a bit. having her defense. And again, Leo, we saw how she came on in her rookie year,
Mm-hmm.
being that versatile defender as well and someone who can knock down shots. I think that really helps you as well in terms of the losses of Kayla Thornton and Benijah Laney Hamilton. So, like when you look at that starting lineup with Cloud, Sabrina, Leo, JJ, and Stewie, like that's still right there at the top of the league to me. And now you're going to have Marine again, who isn't guarding anyone, but
She's gonna throw it
really
up there.
fun and an electric scorer and passer on offense to come off the bench, which is exactly what you need when you do have that defense in the starting lineup now. So I think they're going to be just fine. I think they're going to be a championship contender once again.
Fair. Top two or top two fringe for them? If-
Top two, but sure, I'll say fringe. I mean, I think it's all fringe just
Right.
because, like I said at the top, the parity
Mm-hmm.
is so great that like 1 to 4 or 5 or 6, like you're almost like splitting hairs with these rankings. So they're kind of all fringe in a
Correct.
sense.
I'll take it. Let's talk about the team. The Minnesota Lynx. 5.6 seconds and a Stewie travel being called away from a title. They're running it back with the same starting five. If we go out, like you said, with Chelsea Gray, if you go off Unrivaled, I'd say the two best players in Unrivaled for long stretches were Fee and K-Mac. They're both back. They always have that chemistry. I am curious to see we have Waylon as the staff now instead of Katie Smith. That means Courtney Vandersloot's getting like a point guard 101 every day in training camp, every day in practice. She's learning from one of the best that's ever played. What's the thoughts on the Minnesota Lynx? I know what my thoughts are. You lose Chechi. You basically bring everyone else back. You know, and I don't even know what the 12th player is going to be, the 11th. I mean, we have a solid 9-10 that's back from last year from a team that went 30-10. What's your thoughts on the Minnesota Lynx?
Well, I think if I had to pick a champion out of this whole mess of really good teams that I think could win it, it's the Lynx for me.
He said it, not
And
me.
I did. I'm not the biased one. And I think you bring back all of those pieces, like you said, from a team that arguably should have won it. You have Fee basically just entering her prime, and she already was a top 3 player at worst, and she's only continuing to get better. And for me, the biggest thing is that playoff experience that this group has now together.
Mm-hmm.
I think whether you look at the WNBA or really a lot of other sports leagues as well, one thing that you often see is teams that win a championship get close before they win a championship. They get close and come up short. And you saw it with the Liberty. I think I've said this on another pod before. It might have even been with you.
Mm-hmm.
The Liberty got close the year before they got to the finals, didn't win it. The Aces won it. Before the Aces won those two, they got close. They got dominated in the finals by the Storm. I think championship era teams develop together and take multiple years to become a championship team, and they have to have that run together where they go through the playoffs, they have those learning experiences, they kind of develop that playoff level chemistry and intensity together and grow together, and then they hit that level. And I think that's where the Lynx are now. The Lynx are that team that got close and didn't win it, and now are going to win it. So I think the Lynx are my pick for champion.
To give him some historical value to what he's saying and back up what he's saying historically, just want to remind people the Lynx lost in the finals in 2012 and 16. Reminder what happened the following season. Especially that 16-17 one with the same team. And I feel like different team outside of Cheryl. Cheryl's the only consistent there, and that they're both in Minnesota. But that losing in 16, I think I sent Kelvin this text. Literally 8 years to the day, Game 5 of 2016, Game 5 of 2024, October 20th. 8 years to the day. Both questionable calls how it ended. That fire that they're going to come back with, how the 2027 or 2017 team came back, and then how this team, Fee has made it very clear in multiple interviews she is not a happy camper with how that ended. And usually Fee is not someone who shows a lot of emotion, has a lot to say. She has made it very clear how she's not happy. Cheryl Reeve made it very clear she's not happy. I think having that fire And like you said, health is always the determining factor, kind of the wild card. Fee was far and away the best player on Unrivaled, in my opinion. I think when I look at stuff of like who they could run into, we talk about New York. Stewie had wanted nothing to do with guarding Fee last year. It was usually Kayla or Benijah that was guarding her. Stewie a few times. Natasha Cloud, if they do that, I would just remind them the last time Natasha Cloud played Fee in the playoffs, she averaged 40 points per game in the first round last year against Natasha Cloud. Just an FYI. So if that's where they want to go. Connecticut had a little more, I think she figured out as they went how to take it at AT. And so like you said, I think the experience of last year, I don't see a player who at least is going to physically be able to stop Fee from trying to get to where she wants to. Now, whether that's a win or a loss or she's kind of on her own, you need K-Mac shooting, you need BC to do her thing. A lot of times that magic has to be recreated, but I'm in agreement. I say we are a top 2 team, like you said, fringe, barring health, but I like that we're coming in with a chip on our shoulder, because last year it was a chip because we were ranked 9th out of the teams. This year it's a chip because we feel like we did enough to earn it, and now we're going to kind of take it out on the league. Side note, I'm also a little surprised that the opening day is not Minnesota versus New York. I was kind of shocked by that, but...
WNBA needs to do opening day a little bit better. They'll figure it out one of these days, but we need to get like a prime time, like the way, I hate to say like, look at the NFL, like I don't want to compare to men's sports, but like the fact that the NFL has the defending Super Bowl champion prime time opening night, like why don't we do that in the WNBA? That should be, we shouldn't be watching like the 7th best team on League Pass as the first game of the night.
Correct.
That's a side tangent, but I'm with you on that.
And then later on in the season, they have what amounts to be a playoff series when the Lynx and Liberty play each other 3 games in a row. That won't cause any kind of fight or issues or feistiness, but hey, what do we know? So we've talked about some of the teams. I want to start getting into some awards. We've done the Rookie of the Year. Let's get to my favorite award. Let's do MVP. I'm going to have to say the word correct. Calvin, who's the leader this year, the favorite coming into this year? Who's the favorite for that award?
Well, I think there are kind of a big 3 this year that I would say are a little bit ahead of everyone else. There's, of course, Asia, because Asia is always in that conversation, and it still is, in my opinion, is the best player in the world. And last year she had arguably the best season in WNBA history. Set the scoring record, would have set the rebounding record if Angel Reese didn't come in and do it as well. Then you have Caitlin Clark, because Caitlin Clark, like we said, is now coming in with a full year of pro experience and better teammates, better coaching around her, has inserted herself into that top tier. And then, I'll save this one for last intentionally, you have the one that's on your shirt, MVP, who has also inserted herself into that conversation and won that in Unrivaled. And out of those 3, again, I think these are all sort of like fringe splitting hairs between any of these 3. I think any of the 3 could win it. No one is far from a lock, but my pick, again, I'm the unbiased one on this pod, would be Nafisa Collier for MVP.
I love it.
There you go.
So I like to come up with stats because I'll be a little more biased. She should be a lock for it. If she plays to a level she can play at and she stays at that level, y'all ain't stopping her. Because I point out, last year against Asia and the Aces, Fee in Minnesota went 3-1 in the regular season, including out-rebounding Aces herself in one game. Against New York, if you count the Commissioner's Cup, she went 3-1 in the regular season. Finals went a little different, but she went 3-1. In the games where she played against Indiana, 2-0 last year. So I look at the people that are like the favorites up there. I'm like, she has no problem beating you. And she's also doing it on a team with 0 number 1 picks. She's far and away the leader, the go-to everything. And then I think we saw, like we talked about, 40 points per game in the first round. In the physical series in Connecticut, just owned every aspect. In the finals, I mean, just every big bucket. Like in that game 5 down the stretch, you just get her she hit the game 1 winner fading away. Fee has just ascended to that level where I feel like I would say she's she's that it one this year. Like, cause you always see, like I said, a few times where they have those building seasons. I feel like she's built and she's there now. Like, if she stays there, stays healthy, and does this, I think she should be the favorite.
Yeah, the building season, same deal as the teams, right? Getting close and not getting there, and then finally getting there. I mean, you could say the same thing on an individual level too.
My concern, and this is where I said if it went off like production and all that stuff, I think she would have all those wins. I worry. We've talked about this. Voters are not the brightest, in our opinion. We're saying it in the nicest way. Voters are not the brightest.
I could agree with that.
I think the chatter around Caitlin Clark, if Caitlin comes in and has, I think for Fee to get MVP or to at least be the favorite to get it, she's going to probably have to be a clear ahead of Clark. Because if it's anything up for negotiation or debate, the name recognition is probably not going to go in Fee's favor. Not saying it, and I'm saying it probably should, but the name recognition is going to hurt her. And that's why I think Clark is probably the most likely. If I had to pick one, if I had to go and say, if I was because Calvin's Mr. Money Bet here, Money Man, betting line, I'd actually put the money on Caitlin Clark just because of the name recognition and how sometimes the voters are very simple with what they feel. Who I think should get it, and I'm always going to vote. I've said it the last 2 or 3 years. I might look smarter this year. MVP should be there. She's gotten it in the Commissioner's Cup, got it in Unrivaled. We got one more place left. Well, 2 more. Finals MVP and that. So I'm going to say Fee, but there's my trepidation is like the name recognition is not always going to fall in her favor. We are seeing more of a feisty Fee, and that might get you a little more kind of front and center if you get a little more feisty. Oh, and just for fun, she was 3-0 against NECA last year when she played. So
you had to get that one in there.
Just comparing against all those people, she went 3-1 or 2-0 or 3-0. So she had a pretty good year, I'd say.
Yeah, that matters. Team success is going to matter, and it might end up coming down to who gets the 1 seed.
So we've agreed so far on MVP. Well, you've had 3, but you said Fee's we're going to just say Kel. In terms of like seeing who gets right, we're going to say Kelvin went with Fee. And
I did go with Fee.
Fair. Now, are there any other awards that you feel really strong about or find like the races to be really interesting? Who could do this? Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Person of the Year, any of those races that you're like, this is going to be one of those races that maybe doesn't get the shine that MVP and Rookie of the Year does, but those are going to be races to watch.
Yeah, well, I think all of them are going to be interesting. Most improved, in particular, it hasn't gone to a second year in several years. I believe since Jonquel Jones, it's
Mm-hmm.
been a 4th or 5th year the last several years. There's a good second year class this year that could change that. Coach of the Year is an interesting one. I think Steph White is a far and away front runner for that one. When you look at, I mean, first off, it's hard to win any award back to back, and it's also hard to win Coach of the Year if you're not a top 3 or 4 team, and it's also hard to win Coach of the Year if you don't significantly improve from the year before, or from your expectations. And Steph White checks all of those boxes. Well, the Indiana Fever check all of those boxes, and Steph White is a good coach who has won this award before. And I don't know if anyone else checks every single box like that. So I think it's kind of her award to lose, and that's what I'm looking at for sure. And then, I mean, Defensive Player of the Year, Asia, Fee. Potentially, you could see someone like Ezzy get in there, but that's going to be an interesting one as well. I mean, they're all interesting. That's a cop-out answer for me, but they're all intriguing.
I think defensive play. I want to see someone like Dejanay get it because she works so hard on that side of and she does it against multiple positions. They hate giving it to like guard because they want shot blocks and stuff like that. But Dejanay makes your life miserable for the entire game, and like, I don't think she gets the shine that she should for how good of a defender she is, because like I said, it's relentless motor. She's physical. She's good size for like guarding guards, but then she can also like step in and like take on bigger players. I like her. Coaches that I'm interested, not necessarily maybe Coach of the Year. We've seen this recent influx of college coaches making the jump to the WNBA, which is a great sign of growth because we always just say like they would make more in college. You have LA and Atlanta both bringing in college coaches. Atlanta, to me, I don't know what to expect there because you bringing in a lot of pieces like BG, Brianna Jones. You already have, Howard there, Alicia Gray there. But he's a coach that likes to shoot threes. I don't know if he thinks BG and Brianna Jones are 3-point shooters, but if he does, that's gonna be a rough first day of training camp. But so I'm curious to see like him maybe like adjust to the WNBA game, but them adjusting to like his game as well. So that's the team where I'm like, Atlanta could be really good, or it could be one of those hodgepodge where just something's not clicking in terms of the coaching with the roster.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued too because I think it's hard to not start BG and Bree just talent wise, but playing them together is going to be interesting, especially for a coach who, like you said, plays the style that Smesco does and what we saw at FGCU with basically Maury ball, layups and threes. And I mean, I do think BG can potentially step out there and start hitting a couple threes, not at any sort of high volume. Bree, I don't know if she's going to get there this year or anytime soon. But they do have a lot of talent, obviously, with, like in the backcourt and the wings with Jordan Canada, Ryan Howard, Ali Sugar. I think those three are going to thrive in the system. So there's definitely some pieces to work with. And I do think it's a playoff team, but I think it's going to be like a 6 to 8, 7 or 8 range playoff team.
Fair. And then my last one for most improved, I'm just throwing the name out there. I think Ray Burrell is going to be a strong candidate because after Unrivaled, Ray Burrell won me over. She was one of my favorites to watch. We went down there for 2 nights, and she was just the odds-on favorite to watch the entire day. It was just fun. So I'm going to go ahead and throw her. I'm like, she's at LA, but I like Cameron Brink. I like Kelsey Plum. Like, that team's going to be just, they need like a show just of them off the court. Or on the court. Like, that's just personality on top of personality. I think Cameron Brink has a podcast now, so
She does.
so soon, one day you'll see the podcast King Beyond the Cameron Brink podcast. So I said but I'm gonna say Ray Burrell most improved. I'll throw that out there. I'll give it a whirl.
I like that. And by the way, the Sparks are going to be running a lot of that Maury ball stuff as well with Lynn Roberts coming from Utah. A lot of threes and layups in that system as well. And with players like Kelsey Plum and Dearica Hamby, like they got some pieces to potentially do a little damage in a system like that.
Get it, Ray. That's my
Let's
pick
go.
for that. Okay, so I want to we've talked a little bit about teams and stuff. I want to see. We've broken down most of the teams. Let's get your finals prediction. Who do you have right now that if you're like, okay, we get to the final, which is now a best of 7, which, man, they were tired after a best of 5, but it's a best of 7. And once again, we remind, no break, no Olympic month-long break. So who is your finals prediction?
I'm going with, well, I already told you the Lynx are my champion, and I think it's going to be a rematch. I think Liberty are going to get there as well, and I think the Lynx are going to take them out in 7.
Please don't let it be in 7. Being at game 3 and 4 was hard enough on my, I thought my nerves, Bridget Carlton taking those game 4 free throws, I thought I was going to pass out. That was so intense.
I mean, listen, the way last year's series went, I don't know if we can get anything less than 7. Multiple overtimes, knockout, drag out.
Sabrina hitting a half quarter.
Yeah, I mean, everything. And if we sign me up for 7 more of those as a neutral fan.
As a non-neutral fan, sign me up for a best of 4. Just get 4 in a row. I'm going to agree with you on half. I'm going to say the Lynx. I am a huge Stephanie White fan.
Oh,
I think she's
okay.
getting Indy there. I think I think there's gonna be, I'll say the word turbulence at the maybe start. She's kind of that coach that I think you're gonna have to maybe bump heads with Caitlin a few times. And I'll describe it as this. It's kind of that when a parent tells you something and you think they don't know what they're talking about, and then you fail, and then they're like, see, that's why. I think they're going to have a few of those moments where Steph's going to be able to be like, that's why I'm saying this. And by the time they get to mid-season, rolling into the playoffs, I think they're going to be on that same play. She has extra shooting around her, experience with Bonner and Howard. I think she's going to have, as long as they stay healthy, I think Caitlin's going to get everyone their fair share, and she's going to do hers. And you said second year. I think Steph White gets them to the playoffs. I will say I would also then like to remind people Steph White is 0-2 in Game 5s in Target Center. She lost in 2015 in the finals. Last year she lost with Connecticut.
She is.
Lynx are taking it. Fee, barring once again injury, Fee and Cheryl are mad. They are mad after last year. They are using it as motivation. They're coming in with a sole focus. Unfortunately, I think this is the last year they'll have BC on Minnesota because I see her likely finding her way to Toronto. I think this is kind of a last go-around with this specific group. I think Fee's getting Minnesota their 5th title.
All right. I like it.
But I said, and poor Steph White's going to have to go through, she might stay 0-3 in deciding games in Minnesota. So. But I'm a fan of Steph White. I will say that. Now, here's my favorite part. I'm always worried I'm going to come up with these bad, but this is where Kelvin gets put to the test with the money lines. I do decent on these, but we'll see how this goes.
It's my favorite part, too. I love you hitting me with these.
So, we're going to start number 1. Washington, Chicago, Dallas, and LA were the 4 teams that did not make the playoffs last year. 2.5 teams that didn't make it last year will make it this year.
Washington, over-under. Washington,
over-under.
Chicago,
Dallas, and LA.
LA, under. Under 2.5 of those are making it this year.
You're saying 1 or 2 are making it. Fair. Top seed overall in the league, number 1 seed, 10.5 losses on the year. Over or under? 44 game season.
Under, even though we do have 44 games. I think someone's going to lose single-digit games.
Golden State in their first year, 13.5 games won. Over or under?
I'm going to go way under on that. With all due
under.
respect to Golden State.
Man.
And if they're smart, they should want to go under that because like you said earlier, you want to be going for Juju if you're Golden State.
We mentioned that Diana Taurasi is gone. That also means the technical queen is gone. The one who I think is the heir apparent, no matter what she said on the Bird and Taurasi show, Clark, 4.5 techs on the season. Over or under?
Over.
Oh, easy over. And that's what I thought.
Easy.
2. We had 1 last year. More games, high scoring. 2.5 players getting to the 1,000-point or over mark on the season. Over or under?
Oh, so last year we had Asia, but now we have 4 extra games to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you said 2.5?
2.5.
That's close. I'm still gonna say under. I'm gonna say Asia and Caitlin. I'm gonna say 2.
Fair. Dallas, Paige Becker's team, 20.5 wins on the season. Over or under?
Ooh, that's a really tough one. That's a good line that you set there, Eric. I'm gonna lean over, but like 21.
Fair. Last year we had 1 player do this. 2.5 players who will average 25 points or more per game. We had 1 last year.
I'm still gonna say 1.
Caitlin or Asia this time because it was Asia last year.
I think it's still gonna be Asia. I don't think Caitlin's getting to 25. She's gonna up her average, but not to 25.
You mentioned it last year, or you mentioned it earlier, so I'm curious. I think you might go under on this, but Paige, 17.5 points per game. Over or under?
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little under on that. I think it's like 15, 16 range.
44 games. Angel Reese, 25.5 double-doubles on the season. Over or under?
Over.
And the selfish one, which I always love to do. Lynx, 32.5 wins. Over or under?
I am going to go over. I'm going to put him around the mid-30s.
Same, because we're going to be number 1. That's all I got for those. I had 10 of them for you. So
all right. Hopefully I can get 6. I'll take 6 and 4.
Last year you went 8-2.
All right.
Calvin
well, hey, let's try to get that again then. Why not?
Went 8-2 last year. So we're wrapping stuff up here a little bit. Kelvin, here's your moment to say, why should people watch the WNBA this year?
Because it's electric. It's amazing basketball. It's as high level as you get in this sport, and it's only getting better. The star power continues to increase, and the storylines and the rivalries that we're developing continue to increase, which just makes it that much more fun to follow. And it's easier to watch than ever. More and more national TV games. There's no reason
Okay.
not to tune in.
If you want to meet Calvin, he's at Chicago Sky games. I hear all the time. That's his hometown team. I mean, they got Angel. As a Lynx fan, we have your we have your first round pick. So I'm hoping for under. I'm hoping them and Golden State are fighting for that the worst record in the league. Personally, just because I would love it as AZ Fudd on Minnesota. I think that would be. We do pretty good with Huskies. I feel
Yeah, had a little history.
a little bit good. Well, once again, thank you so much for doing this. I said we're about a week away from training camp. Preseason starts, I want to say 14 days,
A
13
week
days.
from Friday, I
Oh,
believe.
even better. And then the season starts on the 16th. Sorry, Paige, 2 of your first 3 are against Nafisa and the Lynx. So welcome to the league moment for you there. But we should have made Calvin say we should have made him do predictions that opening week of who was going to finish what. But well, maybe I said we don't have a break, so maybe we'll try and catch him at the midseason like we did last year. Last year we had a month. This year we don't have a month, so we may
Well,
have to try.
I'll be at All Star break midseason if anyone wants, or at the All Star game if anyone is there in Indy and wants to come say hi. Will you be there?
Maybe I don't know if I'm
TBD.
going to be real honest. As someone who's been a Big Ten fan, Big Ten tournament, and a Minnesota fan, I might have had my fill of the Caitlin Clark hysteria for years.
Staying away from Indy, understandable.
Listen,
I cannot blame you.
The only game I went to last year was when Maya Moore jersey retirement because it was against Indiana, and that got my fill of Indiana fan. Once again, nothing against
Gotcha.
her, nothing against Steph White. I like the Indiana Fever. I mean, not in 2012 I didn't, but I like the Indiana Fever. I just it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. So
It is a lot.
But I think
I'm with you.
if Calvin's there, like I said, if anyone has a problem with our predictions, go tell Calvin. He loves being told that in person. He loves it.
Yeah, let me know. Let me know if I'm wrong.
Oh, I'm told often when I'm wrong, but Calvin's usually not as wrong as I am because he's the smarter one. You're here for his takes and my rants, so we usually have all those together. But once again, thank you for doing this. Said we're almost here. We're ready for the season, and then we have the whole CBA, and we will do a show on that later to figure out what we're gonna do with that.
Can't wait. Thanks for having me, Eric.
Have a good one. Oh, let's get it.